And the economy, as you guys know, is in serious, serious, serious trouble. I don't know if people know how serious the economy is in trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
But, when Moody's downgraded America last week, they basically said your bonds are not worth it. You guys are mismanaging your country. So it's very serious condition. But we've seen this coming for years. I've known Kenny for 20, 30 years now. We've invested together. And then, I got my tip from this guy here is by Buckminster Fuller. It's called The Grunch of Giants. And grunt stands for gross universal cash ice. I don't recommend the book, but I was a student of Fuller. And grunt stands for gross universal cash ice is how our wealth is stolen via our money. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it says the rich don't work for money, savers are losers, and your house is not an asset. And that was blasphemy 30 years ago. I mean, I got more hell for saying your house is not an asset, because for the average middle-class person, that's all they had, plus a 401k. And now with the economy crashing, a lot of these baby boomers, my generation, we're toast right now. They don't have enough to retire on. And the national debt is now at $37 trillion. The interest on our debt is greater than our income from taxes. We're bankrupt. And nobody says anything. So that's why I think the Limitless is a very important time. Just like Charles, when you showed up, it changed your life. Limitless is for people who want to move forward, not backward. But trust me, it's going to be a rough few years ahead of us. So that's why Limitless is so important. And it's in Dallas, right, Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's the same spot. Yeah, I mean, Robert, I don't know how you did this, but when you wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, in the very first chapter, you said the rich don't work for money. Yeah. And then all your books from that point are basically around that principle, and people still don't get it. Like, that's what Limitless is for, is to let you guys know this could be a rough few years ahead. These are serious headwinds, right?
This year is $5 bill, and people think this stuff is valuable. And I'm Japanese, and the reason that Japan is the biggest debtor nation in the world, I think it's 220% GDP and all this stuff. Well, the Japanese still value this stuff. This is toilet paper, and they still work and they bust their ass for it. People save this. They think this is important. Yet, if you look at what the Fed is doing, this is the book on the Fed here, which I studied, The Creature from Jekyll Island.
I got that book.
A lot. Basically, the Fed is not federal. It's not a bank, and it's not U.S. And Trump wants to fire what's his name right now, and they're a banking cartel. They're ripping us off, but nobody says anything.
Yeah, I know. If we could, Robert, could we go back to, when you wrote the book Prophecy, like it's so funny. If you go back and look at that book now, there's so many things that you predicted back then that seemed just like mind-blowing at the time. And I know one of those is still the biggest stock market crash, but the sound money, which is of course the new book we're reading, The Big Print, all the stuff that Jim Rickards is going to talk about at Limitless. Can we go back and talk about what are some things like today that the normal person can do? Because we've been talking about this for 20 years.
It's been coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then this is he's coming. Jim Rickards, Money GPT. It's how AI is affecting the banking system. Now, where are you going to hear that? At college? Jim is going to be one of the speakers there, and he's talking about how AI may bring down the entire banking system. And he's a very smart guy. I mean, I'm going to sit in the front row and listen to Rickards, because the guy's got his eye on the horizon. And if the people who come to Limitless, I would come to learn to see the horizon right now, because yesterday is gone. America used to be the richest nation in the world, but when Moody's downgraded us just 2 weeks ago, they were saying you're not anymore. So all this has been coming since 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard And this became toilet paper. They could just print, 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 print. And we're in trouble financially. So come to the Limitless to find out what's going to happen, you know.
Yeah, that's like, just so you guys, we go to get that out of the way really fast. Like Robert and Ken and I every year host an event called Limitless Expo. So it's the Financial Freedom Expo that's out there. It's, you guys see the ads, whatnot. Ken and I started it back in 2022, and Robert's been a major part of it since 2022. And we created it for this, basically, to find out what's going on with the world. And every year we come together for that. This year it's July 31st in Dallas, Texas. And it's go.limitlessexpo.com. Definitely check that out. And so that's why we do this, is so that we could find out. I do this because I get to meet Robert Kiyosaki and find out what he's doing. I get to meet Ken and people like them so that I can do it. I'm just a guy that buys a bunch of single family homes and, you know, has a family just like everybody else. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with my life, not just what to do with my business. So where do I put my money? So that said, Robert, what?
And that's why I'm going to be in the front row, and this guy's at Limitless.
And Jim Rickards is going to be there, that guy that wrote that book.
Like I say, Rickards can see over the horizon. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we want today. You know, he said something very profound, because he was not LBGT, he was long-term capital management, LTCM. He nearly brought down the whole world economy, his company. He was the attorney for long-term capital management in the 90s and nearly crushed the whole economy. And Wall Street bailed him out. So then 2008, it crashed, and the Fed, these guys bailed out Wall Street. And so Rickards is asking, this guy Rickards is asking the question today, May 2025, who's going to bail out the Fed? That's the question he's asking today. So that's how serious it's gotten. And that's why I want to sit in the front row, because I want to take a look over the horizon. What can I do next?
Well, Robert, I'm super curious. Like, you brought this up as soon as you got into the webinar about the bond market, but can you help everybody understand really, like in a simple term, like what's the relationship between the dollar and the bond market when it comes to the U.S. currency?
I was just watching a YouTube, and Dave Ramsey and I go head to head, because I call him a fucking asshole and he calls me an asshole. He's a very religious guy. But he says live debt free. And I go after him. I said, because that's not possible. Because what he fails to realize is the US dollar in 1971 became debt. So the only way this toilet paper is created is like Kenny and I get into debt. And the bankers love it. Like, you know, when Kenny borrows, you know, some people, they can barely get a credit card. You got a $1,500 line of credit. And Kenny's got a $15 million line of credit. Well, the bank would rather talk to Kenny, because when Kenny borrows $15 million, he's actually creating more money. So when Dave Ramsey says live debt free, he's crushing the money supply. And I don't know why he says that. He also calls Bitcoin stupid. I'm going with speculation. I said, well, what is the stock market? Do you know how much control do you have over the stock market? And the reason Kenny and I love real estate is we're control freaks. We control the asset. We don't work for money. We acquire assets and we control our assets. Whereas these guys in 401ks and stocks and bonds and mutual funds, you know, they're just losers.
So what's that mean with the bond market right now for all of us?
What was that now?
Well, what's it mean when the bond market's having trouble right now? What does it actually mean for our currency?
That's like what's happening right now. That would be like, let's say I'm broke. And so I go to the bank gives me another credit card, and then I'm broke again. And I go back to the bank and get another credit card. The bank says, no. So we can't borrow any more money. So, you know, Trump is a good friend of mine. He's the big new deal, whatever he's working on. He's raising the debt by another $3 trillion. I'll say it again. The interest on our national debt is greater than the amount of money we collect in taxes. So that's the same as you have credit card debt and you're paying $10,000 a month, but you're only making $5,000 a month. And you're going to go back to the bank? another credit card. And I think that's what this group here is doing. The Fed is they're just trying to borrow more money. And so when the bond market failed last 2 weeks ago, the Fed printed $50 billion more and didn't tell anybody. Because if they hadn't printed that $50 billion, economy would have shut down. So again, this is Jim Rickard. I'm in the front row listening to this guy here. And what he's saying here is who's going to bail out the Fed. That's how critical we've become. This is not, this is not a crash. This is the change of world history right now.
And I think we should probably also talk about what's going on internationally, because there's a lot of people that don't want the U.S. dollar, as payment, and that's a big deal right now. Which is one of the reasons why we think gold is making a run. So of course we have incredible gold experts there: Mike Maloney, Daniel Samuelson, Robert himself. Jim Rickards wrote a book called The New Case for Gold back in 2016. So, there's when it used to be the dollar was a safe haven. And now people are saying, oh, it got downgraded, of course, but also as the dollar comes weaker, as we continue to print, why would you take those? So that's actually happening outside of the US. And I think as you travel around, you can see that other countries are starting to take a look at what they really want now in payment.
That's why, Kenny, what you're saying is so vital, is because the people that bought our bonds, our debt, was China and Japan and Korea. And they just started dumping it because they want to take the dollars or the bonds and convert to gold. So that's why the bond market crashed. That is not anything lightweight. See, when the stock market crashes, it's a recession. The bond market is at least 500 times bigger than the stock market. So when the bond market crashes, it's depression. So that's why this event in Dallas with Limitless, like I said, I'm going to be on the front row listening to this guy and a whole bunch of other guys, because I want to see what they can see coming over the horizon. But if I'm a baby boomer, if you're still hanging on to your 401k full of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, or you're the child of a baby boomer, that means you're going to have a roommate pretty soon called your mommy and daddy moving in with you. They're going to be broke.
So
retirement is gone.
What do you suggest that they do?
Gold, silver, Bitcoin.
Gold, silver, Bitcoin, and real estate. Yeah.
What Kenny is talking about, I don't F around. This is from my gold mine. Kenny and I took this thing public on the New York Stock Exchange. It's the Trixie mine in Utah, the richest gold mine in America. So when people say, well, how many ounces of gold do you have? I say, how many tons of gold do I have?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not one of these YouTuber stackers, all this stuff. It pissed me off. So, are you a stacker? I'm going, give me a break. Those guys are just chicken shit. You come to listen to the real guys, and that's what Limitless is about. And this is my friend here, the Donald. He's a good man. I'm wearing his Trump shirt, but he's got a huge job. I mean, when Elon Musk quit the team, that's not good. I had dinner last night with Jared Teach, who's Vivek Ramsey's partner. And people are worried right now. I mean, there's Trump's cabinet are worried. I would be worried too. But the safe haven right now is poor people still hang on to this stuff. I mean, it's really hard for me to grasp. This guy says, well, how much cash you have? I said, I don't have any cash, but I have gold, silver, and Bitcoin. They go, no, you have to have this. And that's why he read Rich Dad Poor Dad, said savers are losers. But so many people drank the Kool-Aid and they think saving this stuff is real. And they hang on to this and they save this. And the Fed is printing $1 trillion every 90 days, making this toilet paper. And poor people still hang on to this stuff. And they still work for this stuff. And they still think this is important. And Kenny knows I've been saving gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And now I'm a multimillionaire in gold, silver, Bitcoin. Well, this turns into toilet paper. But the average person does not know what an asset is. They think this is real. I have no idea, Kenny. I mean, I talk to people and said, but you don't have any cash in the bank. I said, I don't want any. I have gold, silver, Bitcoin. Yeah, but you got to have this stuff. Poor
Right.
people still work for this. That's the biggest threat I see today.
Yeah, and it's important to lay all this out. And this is the whole point of Limitless. The whole point of Limitless is to expose all this stuff and then have a bunch of experts in there that can help us make good decisions moving forward. That is the point. One of the greatest books that we're all reading right now, Tarl, I think you've got it. We've got it. Robert's read this multiple times. The Big Print. Lawrence Lapard. I've read this once. I'm on my second time around. It talks about sound money. And it just talks about when money stopped becoming sound money. And in Robert's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about savers or losers. So they're not really losers. What it means is that you're going to be losing. You can't keep up with inflation. And so, while all this sounds doom and gloom, it isn't. It's just facts. And so we have to just be on the right side of this, because there's lots of things that I'm doing. As you guys know, as Robert knows, this is one of my busiest years. I am extremely active. We'll have, by the end of this month, which is just a couple of days from now, we'll have closed almost 500 million in real estate this year. Plus we're doing billboards. Plus we're doing recaps. We're doing all kinds of stuff internally in our business right now. I've had an extremely busy 5 months. While there's disruption is the time to be buying. This is the perspective that you guys need at Limitless. These are all important things. The dollar's important, gold's important, silver's important, Bitcoin's important. All these commodities are important. Inflation's important. All these things are important. And they're important to bring the right people to talk about their perspective from it. And so Tarl and I are working our butts off trying to get the right people in the right room. We have 50 speakers at this point, yeah. Tarl?
Totally.
And most of them, yeah, guys, these are people that are really doing stuff. These are people that are really in the gold and silver business. These are people in the water business, the timber business, the oil and gas business. They're all there. And so you can go watch whatever you want, make decisions, whatever you want. We're not going to tell you what to invest in. This is just a smorgasbord of people trying to help.
What's really frightening, where once this brain is programmed, the question is, how do you unprogram it? That's the problem. Like I said, a guy says, how come you don't have any cash? I say, I have gold, silver, Bitcoin. No, but you've got to have this. And I'm going, but you can't change your mind. So the good fortune I've had, or bad fortune, this here is a Zimbabwe dollar. This is $10 million. This might buy you an egg. And the good blessing I had, I was in Zimbabwe when Zimbabwe collapsed. And it was hell to pay. I had guns put in my face. The black nationals were after me. It was a horrible time. The whole thing, they were taking the white farmers' lands. And so I met this guy here, and it's Philip Haslam. This is When Money Destroys Nations. He was writing about this, the Zim dollar. So the countries like Zimbabwe and all that, they know what's happening. I think America is the last country to find out that we're screwed. Last country. And like I said, I'm trying to say to people, how come you don't have any cash in the bank? Because I don't want any. This is going down. Gold, silver, Bitcoin are going up. And I'll say it again, Kenny and I took this company public. This is one of the biggest gold mines in America. So we're set. We're set. But my family is not, because unfortunately they're Japanese and they still like this stuff. Japanese are the biggest savers in the world. Sad.
Well, I want to clarify too, for everybody that's here, Robert's really, what he's saying is go buy assets with what you have, right? And so and redefining what an asset is. You're talking about hard assets at the end of the day, right? And putting it in cash, mutual funds, stocks, equities, that's in that sense, Robert, you're saying that's not worth anything, or might not be worth anything in the future. So get something in a little bit more tangible, like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and also real estate, because I know you would definitely put money in real estate as well. And that's what we're talking about right now, right? Is the solution to protect yourself against the dollar, the bond market, is move your money into gold, silver, Bitcoin, real estate. Is that what you're mostly saying, or something else? Or am I not getting it?
I'm reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go, my poor dad was a PhD from Stanford and University of Chicago, Northwestern. And he thought all he needed was a college degree. That's why he was poor. And today, our academic system, look at, I love Trump. I love this guy. He's taking on Harvard. He's going after him. He's shutting down the Department of Education. What our buddy, what's his name, Kennedy Jr., you know, he's going after the pharmaceutical companies, Dr. Fauci, you know, who poisoned so many kids with his vaccine. And if you believe our government, man, you got to stop drinking that Kool-Aid. Better wake up. Like I said, I'm going to be sitting in the front row, listening to guys like this, 50 speakers, and I want to see what's over the horizon. But I'll tell you right now, gold, silver, Bitcoin will be here tomorrow. Dollar won't be.
Yeah, and I think, Taro, we just want to invest in things that you cannot print.
Okay.
I mean, it's that simple, right? And that's it. Like, you know, people want a solution, and most people just want the easy. They just want to be told what to do.
Yep.
They're going to get taken advantage of in these next few years. You can't. You have to go there. You have to take control of your own stuff and be able to talk about it and have people help you through the process. And that you need a community. You know, even this is a confusing time, especially now with tariffs, inflation, the dollar getting downgraded. What's going on with gold? You know, I have some gold. I don't have a ton of Bitcoin. I'm not as heavy in Bitcoin like Robert, but the diversification, you know, George Gammon talks about diversification. Everybody has a different view and a different philosophy. So if you're looking for that one pill fits all, you're not going to get it. You know, you're going to get a lot of people with a lot of different opinions, and your job is to go there and listen to everybody and keep an open mind.
Yeah, I think what's the point? Like, what's the pill for you, basically? Like, what's your pill that you need? Like, that's what, for everybody out there listening, it's like what I hear you say, Ken, is like, buy stuff you can't print, like invest in things you can't print. Now, Robert, I've heard you say that multiple times too in the past. But that pill, whatever that solution is kind of different for where people are in their current state in their business and their lives and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, for me, Robert already knows, you know, the dollar's debt. The Fed, you know, obviously everybody's worried about that. And so what do you do? What should you do? You should be in debt, good debt, right? You should be in debt that other people are paying off. And for me, that happens to be real estate. So if I can go to the bank and get money from real estate, other people's money, by the way, your money, actually, you know, when you put deposit into a bank, it becomes a liability for the bank. And then the bank lends it to me. Thank you. And I buy real estate with it. And then other people pay it off. And then that's debt. And so just like the dollar declining and, you know, devaluing over time and inflation eroding, I mean, even the Fed has picked 2% as an inflation target. Like, think about that. Think how absurd that is. They basically are saying that we're going to inflate at 2%, even though it hasn't been 2% in a while. And so, you know, if you save money, you can pretty much be assured on their website that it's going to deflate it at least 2% a year. That's their target. So why would you be in that? Why would you be in cash? What's that?
What Kenny's saying is crucial here. I save gold, silver, Bitcoin. The trouble with gold, silver, Bitcoin, it doesn't produce income. So I'm always on the phone to Kenny. I say, Kenny, what you got? What you got? What you got? So this year alone, there was 3 deals. Kenny, I invested with Kenny. I cashed in my gold. I got $1 million for my gold. It was good because my basis in the gold was only $300, and I cashed in at $3,000. So I made my gain there. So I give Kenny $1 million, but this is where the magic happens with Kenny. I give him 1 million. Kenny borrows 10 million. And then he produces cash flow. You see that sign behind me, cash flow? So that gold or silver or Bitcoin is converted to dollars. I give it to Kenny. He marries it with about 10 times debt, and that produces income, and it pays off the debt. The tenant pays off the debt. So that's why I get into with Dave Ramsey. You know, I call him a stupid asshole, and I shouldn't have done that publicly. But he says, live debt free. I said, how can you do that? He doesn't know anything about money. The dollar became debt in 1971. And if we stop borrowing money, the whole thing stops.
Mm.
You got to be careful who you listen to, especially on YouTube. A lot of quacks and weirdos on YouTube. And a lot of them are, you know, there's clickbait and all that stuff. I just can't believe what they're pitching. So I'll say it again. I have lots of gold, silver, Bitcoin. I'm always on the line with Kenny. Kenny, what you got? He says, he says, I got this deal. I said, I'm in. So I cash in $1 million worth of gold. Kenny marries it 10 times with debt. Is that correct, Kenny?
Yeah, and that's how it works. The bank takes as we all know this, Tarl, the house or the fourplex or the 100-unit property or whatever you're buying is collateral for the bank. They lend against that. That's their collateral, and then you just have to come up with the down payment, but they give you the rest in the form of debt. You fix that, you lock that in, the tenants pay it off. And now you're hedged for inflation. That's exactly the model, right?
That's how much tax we pay.
Yeah, yeah, right. Then you do a cash out refi. As we all know, we use debt to replace the old debt. That's the model. It's nothing that I invented. I just jumped onto the system that a lot of people before me have done.
So for those of you guys that are watching right now, there is a Q&A section that's on here. We're going to get into some pretty heavy Q&A here in a minute, because since we got Robert, Robert's gracing us to be here. So we want to take advantage of that as much as possible. But there's a Q&A. The chat, I see a lot of chat and I see a lot of good questions on there. I'm trying to write some of those down. It helps me a lot out more if you do it in the Q&A portion of Zoom on your webinar portion, so I can actually like track it a lot easier. So definitely start using that, guys, with it. But I do want to say this. I always feel like when I'm on the call with you guys, I'm like, okay, I'm here to like
Yeah.
be the layman, I guess, like in a sense. And so kind of like help figure out how I would view this if I didn't know anything about finances and so forth. And what I'm hearing in a sense, like, Robert, you're saying dollar's useless. Like, I get that, right? In a lot of stuff, it's paper because it literally is printed out. But you're also using it as a tool to go buy hard assets at the same time, right? Because it's there. We're using it. So for some of you guys in the chat being a little bit too, what's the word? Like taking it too literal in a sense, like you're taking that useless dollar that is there right now and using it to go buy useful things that are assets and hard assets and so forth that are real things. And even though like that real estate, that gold, that silver, that Bitcoin, the US dollar might fluctuate, but that thing's still real, right? And something else, if later replaces the dollar, you still got that real estate, you still got that asset, you still got that gold, you still got the silver. So things still fluctuate. So you're using the tools that are there to raise and build up your net worth. But here's the question for both of you guys, right? For us normies out there that don't have a lot of money saved up already, or that's still like wanting to get after it. Maybe they're at a point in their lives where they're like, I got to do something right now. I got to get after it in some way. Like, and I don't have $1 million lying around, but I need to go generate revenue, generate income, generate money to buy assets and so forth. What do we do? And today, like, what's a good, I mean, there's a lot of ways, we know that, but what are a few right now do you guys think that would be a good thing to do for somebody?
I'm just saying the same thing I've been saying since the start of this thing. There's 50 speakers at Limitless. I'm going to be in the front row. And
Love it.
I want to learn. And I don't want to learn from these effing idiots out there. Like Dave Ramsey and I go back and forth. I understand him. Dave Ramsey's customers who listen to Dave, they're pathetically poor people. They're deeply in credit card debt, and they should live debt-free. But that's only one side of a coin. If Dave was an accurate forecaster or teacher, he would know the dollar is debt. It's called a U.S. bond. And when these financial fucking planners tell you, oh, it's a 60-40, 60-40, 60% equities, 40% bonds, I want to shoot them. That's the worst possible combination possible. But because people are so stupid, the the mutual fund companies and the credit card companies and all that, they take these stupid people with college degrees like my poor dad and say, oh, it's 60-40, put in your 401k, 60% equities, 40% bonds. And Moody's downgraded our bonds last week. What does that tell you? I didn't know that. What does that mean? That means the United States is not paying its bills. The United States is now debt, I think debt to GDP is now 141% or something. We're bankrupt. And I'm going to save dollars. And I'm going to send my kid to school. And they're going to become a social studies teacher and turn communist. I mean, what is wrong with people today? And they still save this here. And Kenny and I would rather have, that's what real gold looks like. It's green, not gold. It's green.
And I think, Tarl, to answer your question, you know, the resistance that we feel mostly is people are used to turn their money over to someone else. But then when you ask them, what are you invested in? They don't know. They just say, I just turn it over to so-and-so and it's in some mutual fund or it's in this or that. They don't actually even know. And so the resistance is, and it should be, how do you teach them not to just turn your money over to Wall Street and take personal accountability for your own money at Main Street? And that's it. Like, what they want is they want us to tell them what to do. That is no different. You might as well just stay over in Wall Street, in my opinion, because all you're going to do is, you're just going to blame the person you gave the money to. That's all you're going to ever do. And if you're going to, if you're going to do that, just don't come to Limitless.
Yeah.
Seriously. Limitless is for the people that are trying to figure out what they want to do, how to grow their wealth, how to put it in the right assets and grow with inflation and then transfer it legally through low tax and also to the next generation. That is what everyone wants. But if you're not willing to make that commitment, if you're just gonna bang on the teachers, say, give me the answer, or I'm gonna read a book and I need the answer, then this is Limitless is not for you. This is for people that are really trying to figure this out, and also ask the right questions. And so when you invest, it's what you invest in, what you see. So you don't need money. You do not need money. You need a deal. You need to be able to see a deal. You need to see a deal that makes you and everybody money. And they're out there all over the place, but you can't do that unless you're around people that are doing deals. You can't. So you're not going to get it from a book. You're not going to get it from a YouTube video. You're going to get it from real people and real conversations. Put down the glass and show up in person and have real conversations with real people. And maybe you'll walk away with some great ideas, and it'll change your trajectory. That's the whole point of Limitless.
I'll say this much too. What Kenny is saying is accurate. I go there to learn because this is the greatest asset I have, greatest liability. But this is not an ordinary event. This is not just another Limitless. When Moody's downgraded the U.S. debt, it's the end of the American empire. That's what I see. China's going to take over on the macro scale. I was just out in the Pacific watching what China's doing. They're going to take they plan to, I think we're going to go to war, unfortunately. So this is not an ordinary time. The U.S. is very, very weak. Got these woke, TikTok dancers for military boys. What happened to America? Our boys are weak. Women are tatted up. Men have nose rings. I'm going, it's the end of America. When they downgraded our debt, that said America is now not creditworthy. You're a deadbeat. And every person, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means life's going to get harder because every time you print this here, Kenny and I get richer. Because what happens, Tarl, is that when you print this, assets go up.
Yep.
When you print this, chicken, food, milk, and eggs goes up too. So the rich are getting richer, but the more they print these, the poor and middle class are getting poorer. Unfortunately, that spells civil war. And as I said, I was in Zimbabwe, had the good fortune when this baby collapsed. And these black guys came up with AK-47s and they took the land from the farmers, set fire to the place, threatened to kill us. And I said, God, I'm seeing something that's so important. So I met this guy here, Philip Haslam, he wrote the book. America is doing exactly the same thing as Zimbabwe did.
Mm. I think that for those of you guys that are watching this right now, what I just heard Ken say, what I just heard Robert say, at the end of the day, like there is no magic pill, but becoming a student right now, getting involved in your finances. A lot of you guys came here to learn what to do with your money, right? And there's a lot of things you absolutely can do with your money. We've given a few suggestions so far for that, right? Such as gold, silver, Bitcoin, real estate, investing in assets, stuff that you can't print. If you are worried, even with what Robert said, worried about, wars, circumstances and everything, getting things that you can't print is going to help you a lot better in your investment career. And even if we don't have those situations, it's still going to help you better in your investment career and in the future as well. So becoming a student today and paying attention to your finances and paying attention to your family's financial future is more important than ever right now, in my opinion. And so that's what I'm getting out of this more than anything, is that not just take my cash, but put it into things you can't print, but also pay attention.
Your worst thing is you have old ideas in your head.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing you have. People actually think this is good. They listen to Dave Ramsey's live debt free. And there's a clientele for Dave. But I already told you, I have gold, silver, Bitcoin, and when Kenny has a deal for me, I want Kenny because he adds debt to it. I want you to hear that. Oh, that's so risky and dangerous. Kenny is a genius at debt. So when you come to Limitless, I listen to how he applies debt to 10 times his investments. So I have my gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Any moron can save gold, silver, Bitcoin. But how do you take it and lever it 10 times? Produce cash flow. That's the trick.
And that said, we're about to get into some massive Q&A here. So we have almost 100 questions. And I don't know if we're going to get through all 100 questions because Robert might not want to stick around for that long. But we do want to give you guys this opportunity. And then we're going to move on to the Q&A right now with everything. We have almost 100 questions on the Q&A. Now's your chance to throw it in there. But this is Limitless. Go to go.limitlessexpo.com. And this is part of becoming a student, right? This is part of learning what to do with your money. This is part of what's happening. And we do have ticket prices increasing tomorrow. You have one day basically to be able to get your tickets. You can go to the scan here because we do have a special offer for you guys. Robert, look, there's Robert right there. You look good on that, right? So the Robert comes every year. He's going to be there. He's also, if you guys are buying your tickets here on the webinar right now, there's a special meet and greet that we have for you. That's going to include, Robert, we're going to give everybody Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. So thank you. You don't know that, but we're going to be buying a bunch of books from you. So, and you're going to be helping sign these things. So it's exciting. It is it is July 31st, August 1st, August 2nd. There's Robert, there's Ken. Robert, you don't know Trixie yet, but she's awesome. So Trixie sold a company for 500 million. And she just did that a couple of years ago. She's crushed it. She's going to be there. My buddy Brandon, you guys know George as well. So why you've mentioned Jim Rickards a couple of times, but remind us again, why are you going to be in the front row for Jim Rickards?
You can see over the horizon.
Right.
That's what you do.
Love it. And then Mike Maloney, he's one of the most leading experts in gold that's out there as well. And for those of you guys, like Ken and I bring these people here because we're trying to learn from them too. Like we're students also. Like we go to the sessions. Like one of the things that I love about this event, and Ken, you tell me as well, but like we're all attendees. Like we're not speakers, right? We're actually attendees too. So, right, Ken?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guys, like, obviously we know in our lane, like we all have a lane, right? And I go there to learn from Jim Rickards or from Chris Martenson or Mike Maloney or Dana Samuelson, or some of these other, obviously Robert and I talk a lot, so I do have the benefit of that. And but a lot of these people I don't get to see or meet often. So this is a great opportunity for me also to sharpen my saw.
So those of you guys that are on here saying you can't see it, are you on your phone right now? Like you guys see it, Ken? You see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're on the phone, just swipe. If you're on the phone watching this, like it's probably just a different view for you, but a lot of us can see it right now. But there is no, but we also don't sell from the stage. So that's a big thing. So, and I think that that's a huge thing for this event that I want you guys to know. Like, we don't pay Robert anything to go to Limitless. And I don't know if you know that, Robert, but we don't pay you to go to Limitless. So it is a 3-day event, July 31st, August 1st, August 2nd. You guys could go to go.limitlessexpo.com. Ken and I don't allow selling at this event. We don't allow selling from the stage. This is just others. All the speakers there want to be attendees just like you guys. So this is a big deal for us. So Robert, this is a number of our sessions that we have. Look, there's us. This is actually right after we had RFK on there. Like that's me, you, and Bob, and Kenny right there. So we got real estate predictions, but central banking you brought up, like that the book was the Jekyll, the Creature on Jekyll Island. Right there you go. And with what's happening there, alternative investments, the tax policies, there's a lot of stuff we're digging into. So this is a chance for you guys to learn more, and then join us at Limitless. We do these calls almost every month as well. Here's a special offer, and then we're going to get into Q&A. So this is a fast action thing. So because you guys are here at the webinar, Robert is basically willing that if you come to Limitless, we're going to give you a fast pass. So you go to the book signing, meet Robert, special meet and greet to be able to get your book signed. We're going to give you a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad for if you buy your ticket tonight for Limitless. If you use the discount code BOOK10, not only will you get 10% off of the ticket, you're also going to get a personalized signed book with Robert, get to go to the fast pass and everything at the event, right? He's going to love it. So he's going to love meeting you as well. So, but you have to be in person. Our ticket price is at the door, $1,600. So right now, if you go online, it's $9.99. Because you guys are here at the webinar, it's $8.99. And then if you want to upgrade as well for VIP, this is where you get to hang out with me and Ken and a bunch of the other speakers as well throughout the other event. There is a VIP option that is also discounted too. So this all expires tomorrow. So definitely take an option, guys. Buy your tickets, take advantage of it. We're going to get into Q&A right now. Come meet Robert, come meet us, right? A lot of you guys have been to Limitless already. This is something that we really pride ourselves on. We take a lot of effort to build so that you guys can learn. Dude, especially with what's happening right now in the economy and what's going on with the dollar. For me personally, for me and my family, this is a big deal to be going to this and learning from what's happening in the world right now. So what do you think, Robert? You going to be there again this year and every year going forward, hopefully, right?
I come to learn. I go to learn, The best thing about these events, you meet people like you or some of the deadbeats that you hang out with, but you meet people who are moving. Like I said, the horizon's changing right now. The whole world's changing. The United States is now not the richest country in the world, but the biggest debtor nation in world history. What does that tell you?
So, guys, excited for this. Let's get into some Q&A. Robert, I have a question for you from Chris Boyce. I know nothing about silver and gold other than I buy it from Dana Samuelson, who actually goes to Limitless every year. He's a friend of mine here in Austin too, that I met because of Limitless, full disclosure. I give him money. He gives me gold and silver. But Chris Boyce asked a question. When do you think silver prices will take off?
Well, I don't do those types of things. What I'm saying is I don't save cash. I save gold and silver and Bitcoin. And I just bought a house the other day, and it was 4.5 million. I wrote a check for it. But the 4.5 million only cost me 450,000 because my basis in the gold, I cashed in gold, which was stored in Liechtenstein. The 4.5 million in gold only cost me $450,000 because I bought it at 300 an ounce. So what was happening was this dollar was going down in value, gold and silver going up. So that's my way of using gold and silver and Bitcoin. It's just a way of not losing, getting screwed while you're saving money. Saving
Something
money
I read,
everything you can do right now.
there was a book you wrote. Was it Debt or was it what's that one where you talked about what's the book? You read a lot of books. I see the book. I see the cover of the book right now, but it has a lot to do. You tell the story of gold and when you crash your helicopter and like all the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Is it debt or is it cash? Cash or is it or lie? Lie. What is it? You know the title of your own book.
I was told this is my, I flew these in Vietnam, and I flew behind enemy lines to go buy gold, which proves that Marines aren't the brightest guys on earth. And we got up to the window to buy gold, and we didn't know what gold looked like. So that's how we learned.
Well, the thing I remember from that book the most was because I never bought gold and silver until I read that book, right? And for those of you guys that are here, if you have silver is what, $23, $30, something like that right now. What's the spot on it right now? Something like between, it's less than 30, right?
Yeah, something in there.
Yeah. So everybody on this call can go buy some silver, right? And just have it, right? And what I learned about that book, and I don't get anything to tell you guys about silver, trust me, I do real estate, but I never bought a penny of gold, silver, or anything like that until I read one of Robert's books, because what stuck to me is that we all think the dollar's raising in value. Like when you look at gold, this is how I could be wrong on this, by the way, guys. Gold is like level. It's the dollar that changes in value, which it's the other way around. I always thought it was like, oh, gold raised in value. No, the dollar went down in value, and that raised the gold. So I saw gold and silver once I read that book as it's like a stopgap. It's like hey, I'm taking chips off the table to set this aside because for just to get it out of the circulation, and when the dollar changes value and lowers, it raises the price of gold. That's technically how I read it. And it completely changed my thinking to like, hey, I'm taking money off the table to like to stop playing with it out there. And I'm setting it aside in gold or silver for whatever reason in the future. Right. That's kind of how I saw it. And that's how I've applied it in my life. I'm not.
If I could add to that really quickly.
Okay.
When you print this, the rich get richer, and the poor middle class gets poorer, because assets go up with inflation, but so does eggs, chicken, and milk go up. So the rich are getting richer today, and the poor middle class are getting wiped out because they think this is valuable.
So here's a question from anonymous attendee, but I also think Lori just asked this too in the chat. So where's a reputable place to buy gold, silver, and all that great stuff?
Dana.
Yeah. A registered dealer. That's a big deal. You got to make sure that there actually is fake gold, actually. So be careful not to buy it on eBay and that kind of stuff. You want to go to a dealer that's got an agreement with the U.S. Mint. And obviously there's going to be people at Limitless that do this, but you're going to want to vet them too.
Yeah, I think most of us buy from Dana, right? Like, or somebody like him, or.
If I could add something, a not real deal will tell you to buy a numismatic. Numismatic means a collectible coin. They say, well, this is a 1933. It's more valuable than 1964. You don't know the difference. All I do is buy the ounce. That's all I care about. So don't buy numismatic until you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that becomes like a collector thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just hit up. So Amerigold is who I buy from, and that's who I believe Ken buys from as well. That's Dana Samuelson's company. He comes out to Limitless every year. He's a great guy, like super good. He's super into music and bands and stuff. Oh, okay, good. Robert, you buy from him too.
I buy from him.
Yeah, Dana's awesome. Those guys are I've gotten to know Dana personally really well over the years. Like my wife and I go out with him and his wife, and we go to concerts here locally in Austin, and like just a really good dude, like really good dude. And he's amazing. So he does it well for people. He really does. So definitely check out Amerigold, Dana Samuelson, like legit for sure. Somebody asked, is there a virtual option for Limitless? Yes, there is a virtual option. It is on the website. The 10% discount does apply to that, but the meeting, Robert, and getting the book does not apply to that. You have to be in person to get that, but you absolutely can buy a virtual ticket. Let's see what other questions we have. So let's see. Ken, do you got any questions right now as I start going through this Q&A?
Well, I think one of the interesting things from at the seminar that Robert and I spoke at last weekend, George Gammon's webinar, Rebel Capitalist Live, I think the consensus was two things. One is everyone believes that we're already in a recession, even though we haven't. I mean, I'm saying almost every speaker believes that these are Jeff Snyder, George Gammon, and Joseph Wang, that we're already in some kind of recession already, even though it maybe hasn't been technically announced. Right, Robert, wouldn't you agree with that? Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
They're
So
lying.
so that was one thing. And then the other one is everybody also believed, and this is an interesting one, that over time we're going to see interest rates, they're going to have to come down. Even though, I know there's some wrestling matches going on between Powell and Trump. Powell's out of the chairman of the Fed next May. And these are all technical guys. These are guys that really follow charts. It just drives me crazy to try to follow those, but they follow these things, especially guys like Jeff Snyder. If you're not watching him, Eurodollar University online at YouTube, you should watch his stuff. He's really, really technical and really, really, really bright. And even he says that the interest rates are going to have to come down over time. And unfortunately, that could potentially create a lot more inflation, because low cost of money does create asset bubbles, just like we just got out of.
Yeah, I work with a lot of single family investors. That's kind of like my entire niche is single family real estate. Like, I don't know how to do multifamily. I don't even like real estate that much. I do it because it builds wealth and I put money and invest it, and I'm happen to be good at single family. But the reason why I brought that up is because like I have a lot of people that I talk to that are in that like, I can't wait till rates go down. And I'm like, man, I don't think I want that to happen, because like it might be good right now when you're in a bind. There's a lot of multifamily guys right now, Ken, that would love for rates to go down so they don't lose their properties. But even single family investors, it's just like, I'm like, I don't want that to happen, because I don't want it all to go down, like meaning an asset bubble, like you said. And I don't think it's a good thing. And too many people.
It's not a strategy. I mean, hoping something's going to go down is absolutely 100% not a strategy. You have to be buying today that, obviously for cash flow, for the tax benefits, and it needs to be a good deal today. They're really, really, really hard to find, but they're out there. What everybody wants is when everybody's doing it, you should probably look around and go, is this the right time? Right. When it's the hardest, when nobody's doing it, when there's blood in the water, and the banks are having problems with some of the borrowers, and real estate is not performing. Like right now, I'm talking about mostly on the commercial side. That's when you need to be looking. That's when the best deals that you're going to get. And that all changes when cheap money starts coming back around. So, because now, you're basically just creating another asset bubble, which is also not good. But, we just came out of an asset bubble. It's deflating, and prices have already dropped, specifically on multifamily and office and a whole bunch of other things. Not as much on single family, but, those are two different worlds. I mean, single family and multifamily are counter-cyclical. They're not the same. They're not the same at all, right?
Crashes. A crash is a good time.
Yeah, it is.
Good time,
Right. That's when if you know what you're doing, that's when you do the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you said that, Robert. A crash is a good thing. Like, it's a good thing if you know what you're doing. And for those of you guys, like, if you would have talked to me in 2016, I'm like, the real estate market is going to crash. Like, I've thought the real estate market is going to crash every single year since 2016. But the point is that, like, for those of you guys that are watching this and you're not already in the game, and you're not already in the real estate game specifically or anything like that, like, now's a good time to like definitely become a student of it and start getting after it. Because if there is a correction, right, there's not very many people that are willing to run into a burning building if everybody is running away from it. But if you're skilled and you know what you're doing in real estate, you will run towards that burning building, right? Which might be real estate at some point. Who knows, right? So crashes aren't bad, and you make money in disruption. And so I learned from Kenny. Trust me, I'm a house flipper for a long time, right? I'm a recovering house flipper right now, which means I focus on keeping houses. I'm fighting the addiction, Robert. Every day I see a house, I'm like, I could flip that, right? That looks good. And I'm like, no. Ken said to keep properties, not sell them. So every day I have to say no to that. And I'll tell you right now, guys, I do have a handful of flips. I don't want to like admit that publicly, but I do. those are I hate those properties. Like I love my rentals. Like I love having those. But when the market turns, and if it turns, it might not. If it does, that's when you jump into it. It's not when you run away. So the only time it sucks as a single family investor is when you're flipping and you're in the middle of a bunch of construction projects and the market turns. That sucks. Trust me, been there. So, but if I'm saving my money as I'm making it, if I'm reinvesting it properly, if I have assets to back me up, I can take a downturn and take the hit if the market turns and then jump back in. So it's just like dollar cost averaging. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with it, like if you're constantly reinvesting back into it, when the market turns, you have an upside. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I view it. I've learned a lot from that from Ken, and I learned a lot of that from Robert. So guys, come to Limitless, because this is where you literally can come and hang out with us and like talk to us and stuff, right? So it's definitely part of the game, but hope that helps. Let's see. Okay. US dollars going to crap. We know that. Bond market, all that great stuff. Is it still, I know we've already said it, and I think we've already said it, but one of the questions on here is it still a good place to put money into the real estate inside the United States, like at the same today?
No,
That's one of the questions.
100% yes. I mean, just take a look, guys. Here, there's some super factual things going on. One is we're all experiencing inflation. Fact. We're all experiencing affordability issues, right? Like we are seeing a big gap. The middle class is getting crushed. Fact. Okay. We all are seeing housing prices go up and interest rates are high. So the gap between rental and single family mortgages has never been higher. So, all right, those are all facts. So what happens? That means that there's a massive shift of people that are actually forced into rentals, period, because of all those things. That's it. So, okay. So if you know those things and they're right in front of you and you're reading about them every day, you can get angry, or you can get on the side of the equation that's going to move people into the rental housing. It's already putting stress. We're already undersupplied. There's going to be more stress on rental housing, and we're going to see rent growth, and we're going to see all that stuff. And that, this is precisely what my talk's going to be at Limitless. That it's going to show definitively, what's really going on. And we all know this. Inherently, we know this. We know things are going up. We know rents are going up. We know house prices are going up. We know interest rates are up. We know mortgage is up. We know inflation's up. All those are facts. So you can get mad, or you can figure this out. And so for me, that's why we're doubling down on the multifamily, because what's going to happen right now is you're going to have this shift of home ownership into the rental, and we're moving into a renter nation. By the way, I don't agree with this. I actually think it should be balanced. My kids who are in their 20s cannot afford a home. That's not good. Okay. I do believe that there should be entry-level affordable housing for people, but we can't build it. So, and the land's expensive, the prices are expensive, the interest rates are expensive. So how do you deliver that cheaply? You can't. So everybody's advocating for the same thing. The point is that you need to understand it. And then if you're going to invest or talk to somebody who's going to invest for you, you just need to understand the way this is all moving. That's it. And that's what Limitless is for. And that's what we're going to be talking about, in my opinion.
I think that's everything. So Robert is going to be there. We got more Q&A, got a lot more. So this is great. He's going to, if you guys buy your book tonight we'll give you a book actually. So you buy your ticket tonight to Limitless, and we'll get you a book from Robert and so forth. We're going to buy Rich Dad Poor book, Rich Dad Poor Dad books, right? Get it signed, all that great stuff. It's going to be great. Get a fast pass to meet him and so forth. And then you, of course, get everything else that happens with Limitless. So go to go.limitlessexpo.com, use the discount code BOOK10. I'm going to throw this out there. If you guys, there's a correction. It doesn't work for the virtual ticket. You can use TARL10 and you'll get the same discount for the virtual ticket instead, TARL10. That'll give you 10% off for virtual if you guys decide to do that. Virtual is pretty great. Like actually, we do a really good job facilitating all the networking and everything as well. You get to see everything streamed and get to participate and so forth. But that's it. All right. So let's get some more questions before we let Robert head out. But let's see. Let's go into Robert. I have a question for you personally. Do you invest? I'm just curious. Do you invest in businesses at all, or do you do anything like that, or is it all just Like, do you invest in other people's businesses? Like, or do you just do gold, silver, Bitcoin, Grub? I know I remember 5Gs that you've said before, right? And ground, or do you speculate on anything else besides those investments right now?
I used to, and it's just too easy. Long answer to a short question. You got to find a formula that works for you. So I used to invest in other people's startups and all this stuff, and I didn't like it. So I just had to find the formula that worked for me. So I produce my own products. I collect the cash. I convert to gold, silver, Bitcoin, and I call Kenny up and I lever out through Kenny. That's my formula. And once you find your formula, I don't mess with it. It works, right, Kenny? It just works.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely make that happen, Darrell. It depends on where you are in your journey, obviously, how much time you have. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're paying really close attention to the tax code. As we all know, this big, beautiful tax bill that's supposed to be rolling out here, it's going to, we will know what it is going to be by the time Limitless rolls around. And we have, as you know, Tara, we have a panel for this. We have a panel of people that can interpret the ways to benefit from these new tax codes. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of investment is specifically based around tax. There's people that make a lot of money, like doctors and lawyers, let's say, for example, and they pay a lot of money in tax. And so they can legally do things inside of the tax code to reduce, not to necessarily make more money, but to keep more of what they make legally. So I think that is going to be the next game to play. It's going to be opportunity zones and bonus depreciation and all these things that are going to be laid out for everyone to do. And then you can design your investment strategy around those things. And so, as an example, we think bonus depreciation is going to come back. And for people that don't know what that is, it was designed specifically for farming, where you could buy equipment, finance it, and write it off in that calendar year. So let's say you buy a $1 million piece, $1 million worth of equipment, and you don't put any money down, but you finance it all. You actually get $1 million worth of write-off in that year. That's called bonus depreciation. Just look it up. So there are things that qualify for that. And so that's why specifically I'm doing these billboards, the media, right? Because the billboard itself is equipment. It's not real estate. It's an actual equipment purchase. And then you get to write it off in that calendar year, and it cash flows. And so there are things like that we're all doing behind the scenes as we make money to try to legally, even opportunity zones is another one. We believe that opportunity zones are going to get extended. So these are things that you're going to learn at Limitless. We're going to have people talking about this.
What's funny, Robert, you'll like this too. Since hanging out with you, you guys understand, like before all this, I was definitely a house flipper, active. I focused on income, not wealth. Like it was a big thing for me. Like I was like, how do I get my tax return to look really good, right? Like, and I was all into that, but I paid a lot of taxes. And since like going, literally, like I know these things because of knowing these guys and going to Limitless. It just so happens I co-host it, right? But I have a goal in real estate to invest in real estate to not pay taxes. That's a goal, actually. Like I'm like, man, one day I can't wait to have enough money in taxable income that I'm only investing in real estate to not pay taxes on that income.
Right.
So it's a different way of thinking about it, guys. It's not like I got to go get my income up. Like a different goal is like, how do I only invest in real estate to not pay taxes? Like, which that's a different way. That's how I think about it now. I'm like, man, that'd be so cool one day to buy a $5 million building, not because of the $5 million building, but because I didn't want to pay $1 million in taxes on something else. Like that's next level. Like that's a goal, right? And I know a lot of you guys on this call aren't there yet. I'm not there yet, but I want to be, right? And I want to achieve that. And that takes going to events like this to learn it. And so just something to think about. It's a different way of looking at it, guys. Is like, but that said, talk about taxes. I have a question for you, Robert. Like I've heard you say this before. I think you did it in Texas or you said it before, but do you invest in tax liens or have you done that before? Or is that something still a thing that you do or no?
No, I did when I first started out. That's like I said, Charles. I recommend everybody. You have to find a formula that works for you. And so I tried a lot of things, and some things I liked, some things I didn't like. But each time I learned different things. I met different people. It's better than turning my money over to a financial fucking planner.
Mm,
Tells you to put in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, or the 60-40, 60% equities, 40% bonds. That is the most stupid thing I've ever heard of. So you come to Limitless because you're looking for your formula. What makes the most sense to you?
I
What
love
do
it.
you enjoy doing? It's like a sport. Do you like I played what they call gridiron, and I played rugby and I played soccer. And I like rugby the best. So you find your sport. That's what it comes down to. As simple as that, Charles.
I love it. That's exactly right. We're just providing you guys options. So Limitless is, if you guys can't make it in person, the virtual ticket's pretty affordable, and you do get the replays, you do get the videos for life on the virtual and so forth. But like the main thing there is that like you're learning, you're getting provided options to go, right? And you have to pick what Robert said. You have to pick your sport. You have to pick what works for you, and then go that direction. None of us none of us suggest massive diversification in a sense. A lot of us are actually more like, hey, niche out, like, especially in business, like niche out, like get good at your niche, and then you can maybe add on. Same with investing, get good at your niche, and then maybe you can add on. But here's a question with that, Robert. Hugo asks, what do you guys think about investing in oil and gas, drilling, so forth, help offset W-2 income and so forth?
I invest in it in Texas. But again, it's like who is the entrepreneur you
Yeah,
invest with? So it's not the industry, but who is the entrepreneur? And that takes time to find. Because Kenny see me go through my trials and tribulations. There was a lot of liars out there. I lost some money with a couple of them, but in that I found the one I was looking for. One more tip I could give people is out of every bad partner, I found a good partner.
mm,
Like I met Kenny out of a bad partner. So what if you have a bad partner? Generally, there's somebody better alongside of him. So I met Kenny because of a guy named Hayden, and I think Hayden's out of jail now. But anyway, and Kenny and I just kept making our money. So out of every bad deal comes a good partner.
love it. And so, yeah, we actually have a lot of oil and gas coming out to Limitless too. Mike Melchelli, you like him. He's a great guy. We have a
Yes.
hand. He's great. We got Phil Ingram. He's actually he's a new speaker for us this year. Like his whole family, or I think it's his family or just him. Ken has a whole thing for, it's him, right? So he has a whole thing for
Yep.
oil and gas, which is
Yep.
great. Great dude. We met him. Phil was an attendee at Limitless last year, and Ken and I were like, had no idea this guy was a big deal. And as an attendee, he's now friends with Ken, right? Which is kind of cool. I kind of know him now. I wouldn't say I'm friends with him like Ken is, but that was just an attendee. Like it was great. So, but now he's a speaker at Limitless, which is awesome. So, okay, so let's go into more questions before we wrapped up. Let's see, Robert, Ken, save me here before as I start looking for Q&A.
Sure. What the approximate leverage you're getting on multifamily? 50%. Hardly anything. So that's a really good question. But here's the thing. We're not trying to reduce our down payment and create more problems for ourselves. These are long-term investments. So right now, the banks are 50, 60% at the most. So that means that you have to have 50, 40% down payment. Now, again, the way that works is if you find a really good deal and it makes complete sense, then the money comes. But you have to find the deal first. And so, and then if rates go down, and as the real estate starts to tighten up, what you do is you just refinance back out of that. And so it's not about trying to leverage these. These are not zero down, 100% finance, 90% finance. That's not what we believe in. We're actually instead of giving our money to Wall Street, we're investing it on Main Street for people that are on Main Street, for real renters doing real things, paying real rent. There's no reason that we can't benefit from that. So I'm not too concerned with leveraging these things up. Usually there's plenty of money out there to invest in real estate. But right now, you're in the 60% range LTV or less.
So here's a quick question. This is more, I already know what I'm going to say on this thing, right? But a number of people have already asked this to you. Is that like, what do you guys think about short-term rentals, like Airbnbs and all that great stuff for people to get investing into right now?
Well, I tell you what, like the problem that Airbnbs have is that people they have to work both ways. In other words, they have to rent. If the Airbnb market changes, then it should always work as a long-term rental. So you should always buy it as a long-term rental. It should cash flow as a long-term rental, period. Then and only then should you attempt to do an Airbnb if the market is good. So it's interesting because Airbnb itself as a company has grown, but the number of Airbnb options for the consumer has significantly grown. So what you have now is you have a lot of options. So vacancies higher and rents and the nightly rate isn't as good. Not in every area, but certainly in a lot of areas. So what we're starting to see is people that bought only because the Airbnb math worked, and now it doesn't work, and so they're in trouble. So that's for sure happening.
Love it. So I'm going to answer one question here. Yossi is asking, where do I find investors for the down payment? I'm speaking specifically for single family and stuff, and something that's hard to hear sometimes when you're not fully in the business. Find a good deal, right? You find a good deal. I heard it when I had no money and I didn't believe it for a second. You find the deal, you'll find the money. I'm like, BS, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't have any money. How am I going to find the money, even find a good deal? But the truth is, find a good deal. So this is Yossi, you're asking a question. If you find a good deal, find a good real estate deal, like Ken finds a good real estate deal, or his team does, and he puts it out there and people bring him money. That's literally what he does, right? Because he finds a good deal and then emails it and then people give him money, right? So it's like crazy. Same thing with single family. You find a good deal. You go to any local meetup, you go to our, RIAs, you go to Bigger Pockets, you go whatever, and you start putting it out there. Maybe don't share the address if you don't want to, saying, I have a great deal. Does somebody want to JV with me? I have a great deal. Somebody want to lend me money? Like there's tons of hard money lenders out there. There's tons of stuff. There's tons of private lenders, tons of JV. Learn how to find a good deal and what a good deal is. Robert, you said this in so many of your books. The investment's not risky, the investor is. And so it's the investor that makes the investment risky. So get good at being that investor that knows how to find the good deal, and you'll turn it into a good investment, and people will give you money all freaking day. Like Robert calls Ken because Ken knows how to find a good deal, right? And so I have private money lenders. They call me when I'm not borrowing from them because I know how to find a good deal, right? And I'm not the only one out there. So definitely go do the work, and you will, trust me, find the money. It does exist. So, but you have to do the work first. It doesn't happen the other way around. So hope that helps.
Reputation, everything.
Man, dude, like you said it, Robert, reputation is everything. So do what's right. Because here's the thing, we're all going to, hopefully, statistically speaking, most of us are going to be alive 10 years from now for the most part, right? So have a great reputation, period, because your future self is going to thank you. And so it's not worth the short term. I think you even said in a Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert, like there's too many, like making money legally is too easy. So why make it illegally? Like, and so something along those lines. And man, that hit me when I was 17. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't go sell drugs now. I got to go find a legal way to go do it. So to build money in business, but your reputation is so important in this business. So important. Like Ken, you put an email out there and you go get all those investors to give you money because of your reputation. And it's no different.
Yeah. Robert's right. A lot of people got burned in the last run because it became really easy to raise money, and it went to all kinds of places. And some of that ended up being super successful, but some of it did not. And sometimes it was overpaid, wrong market, bad operator. And we're starting to see that now. So when times are really, really, really good and it looks easy, that's when you should be actually really paying the most attention. Right now, it's still hard to find good deals, but just make sure they cash flow right out of the gate. They should not it should not be based on hope or the future. They should cash flow today. That's the biggest lesson.
So guys, we got a lot of great speakers. These are some of the sessions that are coming up. You guys can see on the website. You can go there. There's a lot of ticket options. It's a full 3-day event. There is 7 stages. There's stuff happening all the time at Limitless. It's at the Gaylord. It's July 31st, August 1st, August 2nd. It's nonstop. If you guys just go to this event and only sit in the sessions, you're missing out the biggest part, which is actually the networking. It's actually talking to the people out there in this business doing it. So when you guys come out, take advantage of it. You will get not only just a discount, but you also will get a signed book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and get to come meet us and so forth. Come hang out. Network is everything. So, and your reputation follows you. So that said, anything else you want to share, Robert, before we start heading out?
No, you covered it really well, really well. I mean, I met so many people. They'll screw the reputation for $100. It's not worth it. Just not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Ken, any final thoughts?
I just want to say that there's a wealth transfer going on, guys, and if you want to know what the normal person can do, you need to be in a room of people that are asking that question, and that's what Limitless is for.